Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Buenas noches a damas y caballeros y a nuestros compañeros hispanoparlantes aquí esta noche con nosotros. My name is Ingrid Betancourt. I am interim library director here at the Newark Public Library, and it is my intense pleasure to welcome all of you here this evening. It is so great to have all of you here present for the opening of a very exciting new art installation here at the Newark Library. Community is a safety net. We'll be here in the atrium at the main library, and also the other installations can be seen at the different landings along the staircase as you go up and down in this main part of the building. You know, we were talking a couple days ago, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, right, that for those of us who've lived through the last few years, right, the world has become before COVID and after COVID, right, the last 3 years have been kind of a twilight zone for a lot of people and a very, very difficult time for many, many people. So it just seems to me that we were reminiscing and saying, oh my God, when we met and we began to work together on the beginning of this project, it seemed like it was like a decade ago, but it was only late 2018. So when Swedish-American artist Joanne Grune-Yanoff and Rutgers University professor Jamie Liu reached out to me in the fall of 2018, inquiring if the library would be interested in participating and partnering in a unique community art project designed to bring together refugees, migrants, and native populations to work together on a collaborative art initiative here in the city of Newark, and to offer a space for powerful, open conversations about the experiences of migrants and about the meaning of community. What is community? And the meaning of belonging. What does it mean to belong? It took me about a nanosecond to say, absolutely, we would love to do this. So Joanne and Jamie had begun meeting and facilitating art and conversation workshops with groups of students from Rutgers University here in Newark, as well as with migrants at St. Stephen's Grace Community Church in the Ironbound, in collaboration with Pastor Moasir. At that point, they had already been doing this, and at that point they reached out to us and invited us to join in, and we brought the library community into the project. So in the spring of 2019, we facilitated a number of workshops with Latino and Portuguese tweens and teens at one of our branch libraries in the Ironbound, the Van Buren branch. Also with a group of Latino elders here at our neighbor community organization, Focus. And some of them are here. We are welcoming them. Bienvenidos. Gracias por estar aquí esta noche. And also we work with a group of English language learners, ESL students, here at the Newark Public Library. All immigrants and refugees from different parts of Latin America. So the art installation that you see above us here right now, this beautiful, powerful installation, grew out of all of these different workshops that took place throughout the city of Newark, in which participants came together to share stories about their ideas of what is home, what is community, and what is identity. And finish, and in the course of these fabulous workshops led by Joanne, at some point they finished by tracing the outline of their feet, of their footprints, which then, of course, Joanne collected and took with her. She subsequently wove these footprints together, these fabric footprints, into this beautiful piece right here representing a community net or a safety net. This installation will hang here in the library's atrium all summer and into the beginning of the fall. And we hope that this public art installation will attract attention and thought and spark thoughtful dialogues and conversations about what it means to be here, to be community, to be home, to be together, where our footprints are taking us. I mean, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I came to the States here and to New Jersey in my early 20s, so I have footprints bringing me, here, and I was part of one of the wonderful, well, more than one, but of the workshops conducted by Joanne, and shared some stories about my feelings of community and belonging and what home represents to me. And it's interesting because if you spend most of your life away from your place of origin, what is home? Is home that, or is home this, or what is the combination of the next home? What is you question, you begin to look at identity. What is my identity? What represents my identity? What is my safety net? So these were magnificent, fabulous workshops and conversations. We talked about how, we had some conversations and we were like all sobbing, at one point that, it was emotional, it was a safe space. It was an open, safe space for people to come together and really feel that safety, that comfort to be able to speak openly. So, I want to say that this fantastic installation was funded by a racial healing in an urban context grant from Rutgers University, and it is co-sponsored by the Global Urban Studies at Rutgers University in Newark. It is my pleasure now to introduce one of the incredible components of this great team here, Jamie Liu, Associate Professor of Sociology and Urban Studies and co-director, and Global Studies, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this correctly, Global Urban Studies co-director at Rutgers University, who coordinated this initiative. So please help me to welcome.
I want to thank all of you for being here. Welcome. It's so good to see all of you, and what a special treat this is. So I really want to thank you, Ingrid, for the kind introduction, generous introduction. I want to thank Newark Public Library specifically, and all of the administrators and staff and members of this incredibly important space for making this project possible. And special thanks to Ingrid's leadership and vision in not only gathering the Newark diverse communities that she spoke of and the NGOs to work with us, but her support of the arts and opening this important Newark Public Library space to host such a publicly engaged work that we actually get to share today. So thank you to the Newark Public Library and to Ingrid. So I want to just give a very brief background of how this work actually came to be. Because back in May 2018, as Ingrid mentioned, pre-COVID, post-COVID, right, this is how we just decipher our lives these days, but literally back in 2018, Mara Sidney, who's also a political scientist and co-director of Global Urban Studies, and I applied for a grant through the Chancellor's Office called the IHACERT Racial Healing Grant that Ingrid spoke of. For many of you, if you don't know, Nancy Cantor, who is our Chancellor, is a firm advocate and a leader in promoting public scholarship, initiated a series of grants for faculty to engage with Newark and surrounding cities. And so thanks to the Chancellor's Office for making this project possible. The title of the grant was called, the big title was actually called Toward Inclusive Cities and Racial Healing in Urban Context. The concept of the inclusive city is an ideal model. And in our view, inclusive cities not only have diverse populations, but these diverse residents feel a sense of place and belonging, build connections with others, and experience a landscape of economic and social opportunities. We believe that Newark, with its long and rich histories of international migration and internal migration, since the 20th century to the more contemporary post-1970s migrants and newcomers from around the world are providing this ground to learn how this ideal of inclusive cities might actually be reached. So by merging social science research with the arts, we wanted to propose a project that centered stories, experiences, and dreams of this diverse Newark communities and how they make meaning of both the geographic and the social spaces of Newark to form complex and layered intersections across time and space. So during this time, Joanne, who is a dear, dear friend, and we've just, we've actually, for how long we've actually known each other, and of course an accomplished international artist. And she was developing arts project with refugees and forced migrants in Sweden at the time. And with her background in the arts and community activism that's deeply entrenched in her work and her being, she was providing spaces, pivotal spaces that weren't available at the time for migrants to share their stories of migration and meaning of home, as Ingrid mentioned, as a central concept in her art making. I knew Joanne would be an ideal person to work on this project in Newark, and without a doubt, we were so lucky that she said yes. And I think our friendship helped to kind of twist her arms, but I think, right? Yeah. So in the winter of 2018, Joanne visited Newark, and we began to work on this project with the Newark Public Library. And thanks to Ingrid and the Public Library, we had a space and a home for this exhibit. So I assisted in running this numerous workshop with hundreds of individuals from all walks of life, ranging from ages of literally 14 years old to 90 years old. How these diverse stories of home were both shared and distinct, and the power of the arts to create these important spaces of storytelling. And it was also a firm reminder that social science research, which I engage in for years and decades, with its obviously important broad demographics and large data sets that we need, are limited, deeply limited, in revealing such rich narratives and complex process of meaning making that Joanne explores in this work. No doubt, this exhibit here and throughout the Newark Public Library reflects Joanne's vision, her talent, and the creative force that's inspired so many of us in this process. And in the workshop, I've seen firsthand just not only the moving sort of narratives, but the ways in which people work to connect about a sense of belonging and how shared communities can actually come about. So, part of this embodies a community-based project that centers the voices we rarely get to hear from the ground up, and above all, hopefully, not to lose sight of what inclusive cities and racial healing may actually look and feel like. And be it ideal or not, and maybe in isolated moments that come and go, I think perhaps that this is a worthwhile endeavor for all of us, and I think Joanne really taught me that through her art as well. So, without further introduction, without further ado, I want to introduce you to Joanne. So she is an internationally renowned artist who has exhibits in galleries and museums in various countries in Europe and North America. And I am really honored to not only have her as my dear friend, but introduce her as the artist of this incredibly important exhibit. So, Joanne.
Jamie and I have known each other since we were 18 years old, the age of our daughters now, so we go back. I want to start by thanking all of you for being here, and for thanking Rutgers and Jamie. It has been a wonderful project. Collaborating. I want to thank the Newark Public Library. Oh, sorry. I want to thank the Newark Public Library. Tom, you've been a wonderful person to communicate with for now 4 years, and all the guys helping us install, and now Dale and Z with all the lighting, and And Ingrid. I don't know where you are now, Ingrid, but in any case, but Jamie and I walked into Ingrid's office in 2018, and I had a little model with me, this big, and it had a little model of this piece. And it was this idea that maybe we could create something together, and maybe this piece could come to life. And Ingrid, as she said, it was very quick that she said, "Oh, I love this idea, and I'd love to see this come to life." And so it was really something to partner with writers and to partner with the NPL. I come to you via Stockholm, Sweden, but I was born and raised an hour and a half from here in Philadelphia. And I was born into a very, very tight-knit family in a city that I felt very close to. So when I was young, when I was in the earliest part of my life, things were very clear. I had this family, I was part of this city. That was sort of my identity. And then as time went on, things got more complicated and involved, as life does, and I moved a few different times. And each time I moved, I thought, where are my people? My family's not right here. My city is not this city. How do I manage? I felt sometimes a little bit intimidated, sometimes a little bit lonely and scared. And then I did what one does. I reached out to people. I tried to build community. I reached out again. It took time. And eventually I found some people that I could be friends with and that I could sort of build a community with. And I became somewhat comfortable with that. And then I moved a few times, so I kind of established this ability. And fast forward to about 7 years ago, and I felt around me, the world seemed increasingly polarized, and people seemed increasingly isolated. And I thought, I have to do something about this. The tight-knit family that I came up with also was a political activist family, and so I was inculcated with the tools to do things if I wanted change, to go make some change. And so I thought maybe I could have workshops, maybe I could pull people together and engage people, talk to them about ideas of home, ideas of identity, ideas of community, as Ingrid and Judy said. And I knew I didn't have the luxury of time, so I had to figure out how to establish intimacy quickly. In Sweden, when you walk into somebody's house, you take off your shoes immediately. And so if you feel a little discomfort or intimidated or I don't know, if you're in a group of people, there's this great sort of equalizer. You're in your socks. And I thought maybe we could do that in the workshops. So I brought people together, and the first thing people do in my workshops is they get a piece of paper and a pencil, and they're asked to take off their shoes. And as some of you who have been in the workshops here know, people often balk initially. What? Take off my shoes. People are a little uncomfortable, and then they do. And then there's some awkwardness and maybe some giggles, and then it's okay. And then I tell a story, a very specific story about home and what it means to me. And then I ask other people to share their stories. And it's always surprising to me how much people want to share their story, how much they want to share and they want to listen. And it is also remarkable how similar people's sentiments are. Home is the family dinner table. Home is my father teaching me how to plant a tree. Home is running in the sun barefoot. Home is the smell of my mother's perfume. People say the same things over and over again, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their histories. Once in a while, someone says something poetic and unique, like I think Pastor Moss here, home was reaching up into the orange tree and eating an orange in the sunlight. Right. So that's that's not everybody, but it's, when I sit around these circles with people, I am so touched that people share their stories, and I rarely have felt so privileged as when sitting in these circles and people entrust their narratives to one another, and they find a different way to understand each other, and they create small communities. The piece above you is called Community, is a safety net, is a trampoline. And I think I've just described this, but I think of community. I think that story sharing is so profound, and I think that the impact that that has actually creates a certain community. And I think that community gives us a sense of belonging and strength and connection. And so that is the reason for the first part of the title. And then once you have this sense of belonging and community and connection, you can grab a hold of your hopes and your dreams and give them some flight. And so therefore, communities and safety net is a trampoline. On the stairwells, there are other pieces that some of the quotes from the different people in the workshop are put on on 2 tapestries. And so you can read some of the things that people say. And then there are other pieces that deal with flight, the second part, the trampoline. I want to finish how I started, which is by thanking you all. It is crucial for me, part of the process, that when we have these workshops, that somehow later people from the workshops can come in and they can find themselves. They can look up and say, those footprints are mine, or they can find their quotes on the wall. Or they can come and they have not at all participated in the workshop, but they can look at those quotes and they can think, I might have that sentiment about home, and maybe realize that we're all much more connected than we are apart, and create more connections. So, I thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show.
I'm Pastor Guasi, I'm pastor at St. Stephen's Grace Community, which just look at the pictures here. One of the pictures, this one right here. It's the folks that were at the workshop that night. Our community is mostly immigrants. The Ironbound section was first Portuguese and Polish and Italian and all those folks, and then the Portuguese and Brazilians and Ecuadorians and Guatemalans. And so we worked with a very kind of a transient community, people just arriving. We had many cases of people that came, come by themselves, and then maybe the family later joined. So this question about home, I just went up and looked at the tapestry because you mentioned it all the way up there. And I sat down on the staircase and I had tears because it really touches you. So, and I think in the immigrant community, we often have the sense that we are not worth much because we are out of place, And oftentimes, most of our family members are not here as well. So, is that, and I think we always, as a church, we kind of invite people to ask each other questions like, who are you, where are you from, what do you like to eat, or just the basic stuff. But I think that's basically what the workshop did, is just that you recognize, I am someone, I have a story, and I think that's just beautiful. And I think for the intimacy that created, by you actually throwing your food, taking off your shoes, and all of that, it's another level. People see each other. But I think to come together and say that, and I think that our group, and I was just saying that today, unfortunately, it's still kind of early until you get here, whatever, so people are not sitting here. So the whole workshop. But I'm definitely going to bring them in, all those who are able and want to come, because the exhibition will be here in a minute. But I think there was a immense sense of pride that somebody comes to you, and not just somebody, an artist comes to us, and we are that important that we can share who we are. I think simple things like that really bring us together as a community, and so I just want to thank you so much from the first invitation or ask, would that be something that you would do? We have been doing all kinds of stuff over the years, and we are blessed and very thankful for all the people that we have encountered along the way. And I also just want to also say, I don't have the opportunity, but just want to say the incredible work that the Newark Library does. And I think, especially for our community, that a lot of folks come and work all the time, and so to have a place where we really work intentionally of catching, putting the stories together, recognizing who we are as a community. I think it's just wonderful. So I just want to say, Joanne, and thank you also for all of your work and the Newark Library. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm really also very happy for being here and wanted to say thank you for having us. I coordinate a senior program down the block, and we were very lucky that they invited us to do this project. So we're all excited that our food is there somewhere. Mine is probably the bigger one. It was an awesome time, the fact of talking about home, which I didn't really look at, but mine was actually focused where I work. I really don't have any family. I had recently lost my parents at the time Bruce came, and it was nice to hear everybody. Here's George. He's one of our participants in our congregate, which means they come to us and they have lunch. And during the COVID, the famous COVID, he became our loyal volunteer. He helps us deliver till this day about 350-something meals a week. Even with all this, because he felt a little lonely at home, and we actually said, come on down, you need all the help. Bart has also gone through his health issues recently, but as he always says, Focus is a home to him, and he's part of us. So he's going to tell you a little something, and Ingrid promised she was going to translate. Yo le expliqué que necesito tener que
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es... Disculpe mi forma de hablar, pero no viene en inglés. Y estoy muy agradecido por esta oportunidad y también la experiencia que he tenido al haber participado en esta, ¿cómo se dice? En este proyecto. Y
When's the
por
next
eso
one?
estoy agradecido, disculpe usted que no me salen las palabras, para agradecer este proyecto. Disculpe.
In other words, he was very happy to be part of this project. And then, of course, I had to say we're looking forward to another one. So, and he would love to see a lot of other things. The words are not coming out at this moment. But he was really, privileged, I believe.
Privileged to take part in the project and be part of creating this installation. Just is very grateful and very privileged.
So we're very, very grateful. Part of the participants that did put their steps are no longer with us because of COVID, so it made it even more special. I have pictures, and like I said, when I have a little chance, I'll send them to Tom so he could, just give you a reminder when you did come out to us.
It focuses one of the Latino organizations, community-based organizations in the city of Newark, one of the earliest ones, it's about 40 plus years, 50 plus
I believe
years.
it's 50 that we're going to be having our gala now.
Yeah, 50
49.
years serving the Latino and all anybody in the community. They started serving the Latino community, but now they serve everybody, who comes to their doors with a number of fantastic programs for the communities. And the Newark Public Library has been privileged to work with Focus over the years in many, many different types of projects and partnerships. So we're so pleased to have, those of you who were able to make it here today and bring everybody else.
Thank you again. Thank you so much, Fernando.
Anybody else? Any questions or comments?
The main installation is 322 footsteps. They are footsteps so the workshops were all over Newark, so we met people from all over the world who were in Newark. There were also other workshops that I did in Sweden and that I did in other places, and those footprints are also in here. But the majority are actually from Newark. And it was such an amazing way to get to know this city through its neighborhoods, through these different people. We had kids. I think in your group there was a really little one, like a 6-year-old. And then we had people in their 90s and everything in between. And we had such interesting and as Ingrid said, such beautiful conversations about home and identity and community. And we built little communities together. And then in the beginning, we traced our footprints, and I took those footprints and I created this piece that is called Community is a Safety Net, is a Trampoline, from all of those footprints, so that we could sort of see a piece coming together, so that people could come in here and find their footprints and feel some sense of empowerment, hopefully, by sharing their stories, and then also by being part of a work of art that they can come in and say, I'm in there. And also that they can find themselves in the tapestries on the side. That's what I say.
And I guess you were very intentional about the different fabrics that you used or materials, because there's really so many different kinds.
So I used, for this piece, I used old lace that I found in used clothing stores or thrift stores. I thought that because I met people who were from Newark, from Congo, from Iran, from Syria, because there were so many people sharing their stories, I really wanted to use some material that spoke to time and I felt like, each of us can have some sort of imagined great-great-grandparent who's doing some sort of domestic activity, like tatting lace. And even though we may not actually have a great-great-grandparent who tatted lace, I feel like we all carry with us this sense of history and this sort of romanticized version of somebody that goes way back. And I thought lace communicated that sense of time. And so that's the reason for that material. And the pieces that are in the stairwells that have some of the words from the workshops, those are also repurposed fabric that has been stained and that have stains and are sort of barely holding together, but they do hold together. And then I'm not a textile artist, but I thought that those were appropriate materials for this specific project.
Joanne, is this a permanent home for this installation?
We're talking about it, but thank you. It was built for this space. You missed this part, but in 2018, when Jimmy and I came up with the idea of incorporating our project with partnering with the Newark Libraries, I had made a little mini version of this that I brought to Ingrid, and Ingrid is now the director of the library and was at that time something else, curatorial director, what were you?
I was assistant director for special collections.
Right. And, but it was Ingrid who partnered with us, who agreed to it. And then she said, I want to see these workshops and I want to actually see this piece come to life, which we all did. And then, yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're talking about it. It feels good in here. It feels like it's got a good home. Yeah, and it was.
Anybody else have